Please be seated. Good morning. Good morning. And particularly good morning to those who might be watching us in internet land, as it were. I got the wave from the cameraman. Everything is good, right? You can hear me? That's good. As way of introduction, my name is Leo O'Boyle. I am a hospice chaplain here in South Florida. And in my former life, I was a Navy chaplain. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Father Mark and Mother Cynthia to the opportunity to share some words and thoughts with you this morning about our gospel as well as our readings. How many of us know that opera singers are insured under the category of circus performers? Right? I never knew that myself. So for the benefit of the choir, if they didn't hear me, opera singers and circus performers are one for the insurance world. A trained opera singer, a California native by the name of Christopher Elias, after the attacks of 9/11, got a fire welled up in his belly, like that of the prophet Elijah in our first reading. And so he joined the United States Marine Corps. 3 years later, he found himself in the firefight of his life, which unfortunately took the life of his best friend. After serving his country on the civilian side, he came back a different person, fighting with depression and bouts of post-traumatic stress. He turned to alcohol and drugs to numb the pain. He went through job after job as a young man, and he attempted suicide not once, not twice, not even 3 times, 4 times. Thank God he got the help that he needed through the Veterans Administration. Later, when he was in therapy, they do what they call creative therapy now, recreate therapy, excuse me. Well, they'll take somebody to a traumatic situation in their life, like that firefight in Fallujah, and they'll have them rework it, recreate it, and give it different endings. It doesn't take away the pain or the traumatic circumstances, but it gives people the power to recreate their own lives as well. It empowers the person. And so young Christopher was empowered, and there were some very special people in New York City and Chicago that heard of his story. And so they gathered Christopher and the other Marines who fought well that day at Fallujah, and they came up with an opera, aptly named Fallujah, where the soldiers are the heroes. And the soldiers are actually opera singers themselves, like Christopher. The story of Fallujah is one of hope and of healing, just like our gospel glimpse this morning. We hear about the soldier in hope looks for Jesus in healing. And we have to remember that Jesus is growing in his own superhero powers. If we go back to the beginning of his ministerial career, Jesus' first miracle is changing water into wine. In today's gospel, we're at the midpoint of that career, where Jesus is learning about his superhero powers. He no longer has to be in the physical presence of people to heal them. He can heal them by the word. He doesn't have to touch them or lay his hands on them at all. And then, of course, we know once he matures in those superhero powers towards the end of his career, he will perform the greatest miracle of all. He will actually raise his friend Lazarus from the dead. Tomorrow, in our country, we honor the greatest. The greatest of superheroes, who offer their all at the altar of freedom. So maybe, just maybe, opera singers should be insured as soldiers. And soldiers all the women and women of the military branches, they themselves should be insured as our modern day superheroes.